Let's talk more about Netanyahu's supposed plans to release sensitive information before American lawmakers. With me now, Republican Congressman Robert Pittenger from North Carolina. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. A quote from you, quote, "In my opinion, Netanyahu is the Winston Churchill of the day, warning the world about Iran. Regrettably, President Obama is the Neville Chamberlain of our day, in denial of the enormous vulnerability we have to the potential nuclear capabilities of Iran." In light of that, is Netanyahu's invite more about President Obama than Israel?
No, ma'am, I think it's important that the Prime Minister come. I was with him 2 weeks ago to really encourage his speech, to make sure that he did come. He understands these threats. Iran has been a sponsor of terrorism for over 30 years, and we see their footprint throughout the Middle East, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Lebanon. We see them now in Argentina, Venezuela, Cuba. He understands this threat.
Surely, sir, President Obama realizes that too, or in your mind, doesn't he?
Well, I think the president has chosen the path of least resistance. He is appeased, he's apologized to our adversaries. The world does not understand his leadership. I've been in the Middle East on a number of occasions. They don't understand the direction and lack of direction of our president. What I think the Prime Minister offers to us is a clear understanding of the foreboding evil, the foreboding threat of Iran, and an Iran with nuclear capacity and long-range ballistic missiles, which they are currently developing with North Korea. This is not even included in the P5+1 negotiations.
Is that really true?
This is an existential threat.
Is that really true, and how do you know that?
It's believed by many sources.
What sources?
Sources of our intel, our capacities to understand what they're doing.
That you've talked directly to?
Yeah, I have had conversations with individuals who understand that the direction that Iran is going with developing long-range ballistic missiles, this is a grave concern, and we should be aware of this. This is an existential threat to America. Yes, I'm glad that the Prime Minister is coming in behalf of Israel, but he is also coming in our behalf, on behalf of the whole world.
Well, let me ask you this, sir. What
would happen with Adolf Hitler? And I'm glad that the Prime Minister is coming in our behalf.
Okay, let me ask you this. Should Mr. Netanyahu share sensitive information on negotiations with Iran publicly? Should he share that kind of information with the world?
Well, I don't have any reason to believe that he is. I think there's a lot of speculation out there of what he is going to do. I think this is all created for media interest and attention. Let's hear his speech out and hear what he has to say. I think the recognition is that Iran with nuclear capacities is a major threat to the entire world. We need to understand that. They have never kept an agreement. We have given them concession after concession. You know, this whole narrative has changed. It began with, should we allow Iran to have nuclear materials, nuclear capacity? Now that narrative is, well, how great of capacity should we allow them to have? We've given them $12 billion of repatriated oil revenues that have sustained their economy during this entire time. You know, the Soviet Union collapsed under President Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, Pope John, Lech Walesa.
Well, going back to the matter at hand, Iran, because I really want to focus on Iran, sir. Could we just focus on Iran?
I'm focusing on how to deal with Iran. I'm focusing on how to deal with Iran.
But I want to focus it on Benjamin Netanyahu's speech from the floor of Congress. So if he does share sensitive information about these negotiations, will you address that?
That's very presumptuous that he is.
If he does, would you address that?
Let's define what sensitive is. I'm not going to speculate on what might be. That's nonsense. Let's look at the reality of the threat that is there and what Iran has done and what they've done the last 30 years. They have been the source of funding terrorism throughout the Middle East. Imagine Iran with a nuclear capacity. I think that's the message we all need to be listening to, and all the rest of this is hype. It's pure political nonsense to be, well, I'm not going to go because it's partisan. Well, you make it partisan by not going. You know, let's go and hear the message of our closest democratic ally in the Middle East and hear what he has to say. I think we might learn something.
But some people might think that this sounds an awful lot like Israel and congressional Republicans negotiating or not negotiating a deal with Iran at the same time the president is. Isn't that strange?
No, I think the Prime Minister is coming for the very purpose to say, hey, my friends, listen to what I have to say. He is gravely concerned. I was in Israel 2 weeks ago. I was up at the Golan Heights with these young officers in a tank battalion. I was down at Gaza. They understand these missiles that come across, fired by Hezbollah, funded by Iran. They understand the threats. They live under these threats. Israel lives under these threats. I've been there 3 times in the last 18 months. I am grateful that the Prime Minister would come over here and against his political interest. You know, this is not a positive thing for him back in Israel to be doing. But he is so gravely concerned about the outcome of what this agreement will be that he's coming here to tell us and express his grave concern.
All right. Congressman, thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.